Congressman Tim Huelskamp joins me now. Good to see you, Congressman. We appreciate it. Obviously, just heard Dana reporting there isn't going to be a vote tonight, that this was the Speaker's last olive branch to people like you. Did you reject it? Were you going to vote against John Boehner?
I was going to vote against the bill. It debt ceiling again with absolutely no spending cuts, which has been par for course in Washington, D.C. But also the real issue is we heard starting 24 hours ago that Harry Reid was going to send a bill out. That, of course, has not happened. They haven't sent anything out for 14 days. The president doesn't have any proposal on the table, but I just think most folks understand October 17th is not the drop-dead date. There are no payments due for a couple weeks, but it's time to get our act together and move forward on facing the fundamental problem of spending too much money.
So do you think Speaker Boehner doesn't deserve to be Speaker anymore? What happens
he is
to him?
Speaker, and we'll probably come in tomorrow and continue to discuss. But Harry Reid cannot pass anything through the Senate. The president is not proposing anything. The president has a great opportunity. He said no, 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 no for 14 days. He's had months to get ready for October 17th. He has no plan. I'm guessing we'll sit down tomorrow in the House and come up with a plan that hopefully will be a short-term debt ceiling and give us a little more time to address these issues. But at the end of the day, Obamacare is a massive drain on the economy, and it's going to create massive deficits. We have to face that as well.
But what I don't understand is it sounds to me like you're saying the same thing that you were saying a couple weeks ago, 5 days ago, that you want to extend the debt ceiling, but Obamacare's got to go. Well, we all know Obamacare isn't going to go. So are you going to, at any point, you're going to have to vote for, or you're going to get outvoted on a deal that doesn't include getting rid of Obamacare? I mean, that's the reality, right?
Well, I don't know if that's the reality. Most Americans agree with me and the House Republicans that members of Congress shouldn't have special exemptions from Obamacare. That should be a done deal.
But John Boehner put that in the bill that you said you were going to vote no to. It got rid of those exemptions, is our reporting and understanding.
That was part of the bill. There were many parts of that as well. But this idea that Harry Reid and the president like to talk about Obamacare as the law of the land, provided exemption after exemption after exemption. And so we agree Obamacare has to be changed. The question is the president willing to treat the rest of Americans as he's trying to treat big businesses? It's a fairness issue, and we have been discussing that for 2 weeks. We look forward to Harry Reid actually having a vote on that issue, putting his red state Democrats on the line for special privileges for members of Congress.
I'm just trying to understand why you'd vote against the bill that the Speaker had on the table, because obviously that no vote and this getting shot down tonight could be hugely significant. If it had that fairness issue on the table, that the White House, that members of your staff would all be treated the same as other Americans, dealt with the fairness issue, why did you vote? Would you have voted against it?
It was going to raise the debt ceiling hundreds of billions of dollars with no change in spending.
But any deal is going to have to raise the debt ceiling, sir.
Well, the deal we tried to offer a few weeks ago suggested, no, we can raise it for a few weeks, but not to raise it until next year and another $300–400 billion of debt, and that's unacceptable. Americans want to face this problem, and the problem is not that we can't come together. It's the problem we have folks that don't want to ever cut spending, which is why you have to raise the debt ceiling. That's the real issue here, and the president has no proposal. He does not want to reduce spending, so we're at loggerheads until he's ready to negotiate.
So you're saying you'll vote for a bill that extends the debt ceiling for a few weeks, but not for a couple months, if that's really all it came down to?
In exchange for some significant changes and reductions in spending. And the CR debate is about Obamacare. It is a huge hole in our spending. It's going to create massive deficits, about $50 billion more dollars of spending in the next year alone, $800 billion over the next decade, and you can't balance the budget, Mr. President, unless you deal with your brand new entitlement that is unfunded.
Well, I mean, of course, there are people who say it would cut spending, and I know, look, that people are passionate about both sides, but the jury
with that. I'm not going to let that pass. The CBO disagrees with that. The only way it would cut spending is if you would raid Medicare. The president and Harry Reid and the House are not going to raid Medicare, which means the budget deficits over those 10 years will be increased $800 billion because of Obamacare. That's a fact. Let's not let the president try to cloud that issue.
But you would be willing to make cuts, I want to make it clear, to those entitlements, things like Medicare. That's what you're asking for.
We have had those votes. I've had those votes on numerous things. Yes, I will. We have to make some changes now in order to start looking to balance our budget. Again, the debt ceiling is not the problem. The problem is the spending that continues to attempt to exceed our ability to borrow. And at the end of the day, folks, not only in America, but around the world, should be worried about an out-of-control too much spending going on in Washington. And again, that didn't start yesterday. It didn't start 5 years ago. It's been going on for decades. Now it's time to solve that problem instead of pushing it off till February.
Just there's a tweet coming out from your office. I'm assuming you sent it yourself. I don't know, Congressman Huelskamp, but you sent it to Senator Ted Cruz, just coming out about 16 minutes ago. Senator Ted Cruz, where are we having dinner tonight? I guess two questions for you. One, you're going to dinner with Ted Cruz, and two, do you agree with people who say that Ted Cruz has been the cancer at the center of all of these negotiations? Whether you agree with this principle or not, that the strategy has been a big mistake.
Well, there seems to always be interest in Washington, D.C. and the chattering class about who eats supper with whom, and that's a little joke that apparently then inside the Beltway media might get, and the rest of America misses. But, you know, Ted Cruz and folks like myself represent average Americans who are worried about their future. They're worried about $17 trillion of debt. They don't like Obamacare. They know what it's going to do. They know it's getting between them and their doctor. And so this idea that a few people, we're talking about millions of Americans, don't like Obamacare, and they should be represented here. They should have their say, and they're demanding members of Congress, the President of the United States, and big businesses should face the same Obamacare requirements that they face. And that's a basic fairness principle I think most Americans, again, do agree with.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your taking the time, Representative Huelskamp. Thank you.